This is The Globalist here on Monocle 24. And of course, as you may have noticed, it is that time of year again where we wonder, with rising panic, what do we give to whom? Well, for the younger generation, Christmas lists are more silicon-based than ever, from mobile phones to games consoles. But what about the train sets, the Lego blocks, the board games and the puzzles? Is there still space for these analogue presents which kids used to cross their fingers for on Christmas Eve?
Well, they haven't been on my shopping list for my nieces and nephews so far this year, but to help us decide between...
I hope they're not listening. Oh, dear.
Oh, good.
Ty. Oh,
it's all right. I don't think they're up at this time, but help us decide between new toys and old and give us some tips on gift buying. Monocle's Barrett Austin spoke to Richard Godlib, a toy industry expert. What a fun job is that? He's also a toy consultant and commentator. Now, Barrett started by asking, what's the difference, or where's the line drawn between a toy and a gadget in these digital times?
Okay, well, I think first of all we need to remember that children are going to define that a lot differently than adults. Children who have grown up in the last 10 years, as an example, really see all forms of play as seamless. They don't think to themselves, I'm playing with a toy now, and then I'll go play with a gadget, and then I'll go online. They just see it as a seamless pattern. Those of us, however, who can remember when there really weren't cell phones too much and computers, it's a little more challenging for us. And so we tend to put things into categories that they do not. So having said that, I would say to you that a toy is a three-dimensional product that you can touch and smell, and may or may not have a technological component to it. I mean, let's face it, we've had battery-operated cars since the 30s. A gadget, I think, is something that can either function to provide some kind of service, like you might call a cell phone, a gadget, or you can play a game on it. And so it's more of a platform for some other experience. Whereas a toy it tends to be anywhere from a fairly simple to even a more complex, sometimes mechanical, sometimes not, product.
And you mentioned that for most young people, particularly those, say, ages 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, that there's truly a seamless experience between what a toy is and what a gadget is. But what are some of the gadgets that young people are being exposed to today that's helping to blur this line between the two?
I think the biggest thing that's creating a blur are apps. Because so many apps now are being taken by traditional toy and game makers and being used as a bridge between virtual play and physical play. I know of a game company that actually uses an app as a component that for a board game. You take your iPad and you go to the app and you stick it in the middle of the board, and you do get a cardboard board with pieces, and you play based upon what happens from the app. As a matter of fact, you even have a randomizer there instead of a pair of dice to tell you how many pieces to move. And then we have other products like Skylanders, which are products that are wonderful kind of video game / physical play products, in which children can actually have different characters interact with the video game, physical interacting with virtual. So I think we're continuing to see this kind of blending of the two worlds.
I'd like to talk about a phenomenon that a lot of people are ascribing to young people, and it's this idea of age compression. First of all, what is age compression, and when did this idea come about?
Well, age compression is the notion of children getting older, younger. And to put that into more concrete terms, some of your listeners may remember when they were girls, and it is typically a girl who is an example, who we are losing due to age compression, that they played with dolls until they were 12. Well, we lose those girls at the age of 8 now. So it is a phenomena in which children kind of age out of playing with traditional toys and really move more into digital and technology play and to really a lot of social interaction through the different social networks.
All of this seems that it could be quite risky for those that are in the business of making and selling toys. But I wonder, how are traditional toy manufacturers responding to this idea, the idea of age compression?
The average toy industry member typically is in a family business or is a second, third generation person, and I think to some degrees there's kind of a sense of this is an act of nature, that an act of God, that there's really nothing that they can do to affect it, that age compression is something that's just being driven by society, and I really don't entirely share that point of view. If you go into a toy department, and particularly again into the girls section, you'll see there's an enormous amount of emphasis on what I would call girly girl products for girls, meaning princesses and a lot of kind of child, young fantasy play. This is a result of the tremendous success of the Disney princesses, and so what has happened is there's just been a general trend towards going in that direction. The problem with all that is, like, every little girl, I would imagine, at about the age of 3 or 4 may be into some princess play. But by the time that girl gets to 6 or 7, they're their own individual, and they like sports, or they may like nature, or they may like something else. But their sense of the toy department is that it's a child's place. It's for babies, and so they move on. So I think that I would put some of the responsibility at the feet of the toy industry for not engaging girls sufficiently, and some just in society that just grows up children a little faster than some of us are comfortable with.
I grew up playing with lots of traditional toys, and thus I am a proponent of giving toys as gifts. Where do you stand on this? Are you a supporter of giving toys? Are you supportive of giving gadgets? Something tells me that you're voting for the toys.
Well, maybe a little different than what you might expect. If you're a parent, or if you're Santa Claus, you probably want to listen to your children and give them what they want. But if you're a grandparent, an aunt and an uncle, or a friend, I strongly suggest that don't be concerned about whether it's a gadget or a toy, but give something that reflects your passion. If you love to draw, give an art set. If you love history, get something oriented to history. Give something so that that child gets a true sense of who you are, and you may strike lightning sometimes and create that passion that you have in that child. The worst that's going to happen is they're going to remember who you were. The best that's going to happen is you really may make a difference in a child's life.
There you go. You've been told. You've
I don't
got your
think
tips
children
now?
give a monkeys who I am or what my toy says about
They
me.
just care what you've given them.
They
and...
just basically say, I want X and you better deliver it.
Oh, dear.
Well, I'm just invoking my own family. I hope they're not listening.
I was just playing with the boxes, of course.
Yes.
Didn't care about what was
That's
inside.
the best thing to do, you know?
Always. And that was Richard Godlube speaking to Monocle's Barrett Austin about